Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing a full system scan on one of the most powerful yet, well, persistently misunderstood forces shaping our culture and our commerce. Public relations. I mean, we're talking about the engine behind these massive cultural movements.
No, absolutely.
Think about the Barbie marketing campaign. The strategy there helped contribute, an estimated $2.9 billion to the box office?
A staggering number. Or Stanley water bottles, that was another one.
Right. Generating, I think, $10.5 million in free publicity just from a few viral social media moments.
Moments that feel completely spontaneous to us.
Exactly. These successes feel organic, but the work behind them, public relations, is rarely that simple. It's complex, it's often cynical, and it's just loaded with competing philosophies. So our mission today is to trace the evolution of PR. We're going to start with its manipulative, deeply psychological origins and end up with its ethically charged role in our modern digital attention economy.
And that's so important because when you look at the role of a PR specialist today, they're essentially the strategic communication nexus for any company.
It's not just press releases anymore.
Not at all. They manage the public image, they craft these surgical messages, they're monitoring media coverage and public sentiment pretty much around the clock. And they're ultimately responsible for maintaining positive relationships with a whole ecosystem of stakeholders.
Customers,
investors, community leaders, even regulators.
Yeah.
But to understand why the field is so fractured today, why we have both amazing corporate responsibility and just aggressive spin, we absolutely have to look back.
At the founders.
We have to look at the historical figures who laid the foundation. We're contrasting, the early days of deliberate spin where the public was just a target to be manipulated with today's standard, or at least the theoretical goal of transparency.
Let's jump right into the deep end then, with probably the earliest and arguably the most cynical pioneer of them all, P.T. Barnum. He made his fortune using press agentry, which was basically generating buzz by any means necessary, all driven by that infamous belief that there's no such thing as bad publicity.
He was the master of manufactured controversy. Our sources note he would literally use assumed names to write letters to newspapers.
No way.
Oh yeah. Sometimes calling out his own attractions as being elaborate hoaxes just to keep the story boiling in the news cycle.
So he didn't care about the truth at all.
Not one bit. He cared about the attention, the foot traffic, the spectacle. It was all about getting people through the door.
That's classic brazen deception. But the real shift into, modern influence that came with Edward Bernays, this is where PR stops being about hoaxes and starts being about psychology.
Precisely. Bernays proudly called himself the father of public relations. And the fact that he was Sigmund Freud's nephew is incredibly relevant here.
It's not a coincidence.
Not at all. His work wasn't based on carnival tricks. It was based on behavioral science. He was drawing heavily from theories of crowd psychology, from thinkers like Gustav Le Bon and Wilfred Trotter. He realized that if you understood the hidden tribes of the masses, you could steer them.
And his core philosophy, which he laid out in his 1928 book, Propaganda, it's unsettlingly honest about what he was trying to do. He wrote that the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society.
It's chilling, because he framed it as a necessity. He believed that this enlightened, sophisticated, kind of invisible government, made up of people who understood these mental processes, was the true ruling power.
Yeah.
He argued this is how society maintained order. He even had a name for it. The engineering of consent.
It wasn't about debate, it was about control.
It was about control.
Yeah.
Achieved by making the public want what the elite decided was best for them.
And he wasn't just theorizing this stuff, he proved he could do it with some shocking early campaigns. The one that always stands out is his work for the American Tobacco Company in 1929, the Torches of Freedom campaign.
That campaign is a textbook example of linking a product to a profound cultural desire. In this case, linking smoking to women's equality.
So what did he do?
Bernays hired these high society women and suffragettes to march in the New York Easter Parade. And at his signal, they all publicly lit up cigarettes.
Wow.
And in doing so, they broke this huge social taboo against women smoking in public. He didn't advertise the cigarette, he advertised the freedom it supposedly represented. He was pure genius, however cynical you might find it.
And he applied this idea everywhere. He organized ivory soap carding contests that became so popular they ended up in school curricula for 25 years.
While he was working for Procter & Gamble, he also orchestrated Light's Golden Jubilee in 1929 for General Electric. national celebration that culminated with President Hoover himself dedicating the Edison Institute of Technology. He was manipulating these huge national events to generate favorable coverage for his clients.
So to really get how PR evolved, we have to contrast that psychological manipulation with the approach of another pioneer, Ivy Lee.
Yes, Ivy Lee. He came onto the scene during the very turbulent 1906 coal strike.
And Lee adopted what was back then considered a truly radical approach, candor. He actually announced to the press that he was a publicity consultant hired by the mine management and then promised to distribute information honestly and promptly.
It was a huge shift. This commitment to disclosure is why he's credited with establishing what's called the public information model.
He basically introduced the idea that truthfulness, or at least, a commitment to providing factual information, was a better long-term strategy than just lying.
It was. But this raises a really important question. How do we reconcile his commitment to candor with his later work humanizing John D. Rockefeller?
Right, after the Ludlow massacre, a horrific event where the Rockefeller-owned coal company was responsible for mass deaths.
Exactly. Lee used strategic communication and philanthropy to transform Rockefeller's public image from an absolute villain to a revered philanthropist.
Wait, hold on. That sounds an awful lot like a more sophisticated version of spin, doesn't it? I mean, is the Ivy Lee model really about truth, or is it just about making sure you control the narrative before someone else does?
You've hit on it exactly. That is the absolute core tension that defines PR to this day. Lee was practicing strategic transparency. He realized the public would probably find out the truth eventually, so it was better to be the primary source, even if the information was damaging.
So it was damage control.
It was damage control, but it was also about transforming the underlying reality.
Yeah.
He made Rockefeller commit to philanthropy,
Yeah.
and then he communicated that change. He elevated PR from just lying to sophisticated narrative management and reputation repair.
So that tension between Barnum's deception, Bernays' manipulation, and Lee's strategic disclosure is why the field is so multi-layered. Academically, modern PR is often discussed through four main schools of thought: excellence, advocacy, dialogue, and so on. But I think the clearest way to trace this evolution is through what's known as Grunig's four models of communication.
Exactly. Grunig's models are great because they show how communication between an organization and the public shifts, mostly based on the purpose and the direction of the information flow.
Okay, so let's walk through them.
At the very bottom, you have the press agentry model. That's pure Barnum. One-way communication, often deceptive, and it relies entirely on hyper-persuasion. The goal is just noise.
Okay, next up is the public information model, which is Ivy Lee's contribution. It's still one way, but the intent is to inform, to get out accurate, factual information. You see this a lot with governments or nonprofits trying to educate the public.
Right. Then we get into the two-way models, which are far more complex because they involve research. Bernays pioneered the two-way asymmetric model, and this is crucial. They use research surveys, interviews, focus groups to figure out exactly what the public thinks.
But they don't do it to change themselves.
No, that's the key. They do it to craft a better message, designed specifically to persuade the public to adopt attitudes that are favorable to the organization.
So if I'm getting this right, in the asymmetric model, the organization is listening, but only to improve the aim of its propaganda?
That is the perfect analogy. You are listening only to improve your persuasive power. The communication is fundamentally imbalanced in favor of the communicator. It's very effective, but ethically suspect because the organization isn't willing to change its core behavior.
Which brings us to what's considered the gold standard, the two-way symmetric model.
Yes, the symmetric model is the highest ethical standard. It seeks mutual understanding. In this model, both the organization and the public are genuinely willing to adjust to one another based on the dialogue.
So the company might actually change its product or policy.
Exactly. They may change a policy based on public feedback, and in return, the public gets a better understanding of the constraints the organization is facing. It's a true conversation.
That ideal of mutual adjustment leads us directly to Arthur W. Page, who had this core philosophy for ethical PR. He said, "All business in a democratic country begins with public permission and exists by public approval."
That statement is immensely powerful. It elevates transparency from just, a nice idea to a fundamental operating requirement. It demands honesty, clarity, openness, respect. What's so fascinating and challenging is that PR professionals today face significantly more ethical hurdles than in the past.
Why is that?
Precisely because of the speed and anonymity of digital media and the emerging power of AI.
That modern environment has created some highly effective but ethically devastating traps. expression that comes to mind is astroturfing.
Astroturfing is the perfect modern iteration of Bernays' engineering of consent, but it's executed at scale and often anonymously.
It's fake grassroots.
It's completely fake grassroots activism. It's when corporations or political parties use hired agents to create the false impression that a view they want to promote has genuine, widespread public support. This could be paid actors at a town hall or legions of bots flooding a comment section with fake reviews.
The second major trap, and this one has massive financial consequences, is greenwashing. Deliberately misleading consumers about a company's environmental practices. And you can't talk about this without mentioning Volkswagen's Dieselgate scandal.
Dieselgate is the ultimate example. I mean, Volkswagen literally installed software in their diesel cars designed to cheat on emissions tests.
They got caught.
And when they got caught, the breach of trust was catastrophic. They were hit with over $25 billion in global fines and settlements. It permanently associated their brand with environmental deception.
And yet, that fear of massive exposure and financial penalty is pushing some other brands toward that symmetric ideal, right? Or at least the perception of it through purpose-driven communication.
Yes, we are seeing positive counterexamples. Patagonia, for instance, changed its entire mission to save our home planet. They commit 1% of sales through their 1% for the Planet initiative.
And Allbirds, the shoe company.
Allbirds made sustainability aspirational. They even label their products with their full carbon footprint and have committed to reducing it by half by 2025.
Right.
Now, the tension remains. Is this true purpose, or is it just sophisticated marketing?
Right.
But the difference is that these companies are putting their money and their manufacturing process where their mouth is, which is really the only way to genuinely satisfy a skeptical public today.
And when companies fail to satisfy that skepticism, we get into crisis management. In the digital age, crises spread exponentially, which means the lessons are learned in a brutally immediate way.
One clear lesson from recent failures is that timing and transparency matter immensely. You cannot dump news on a Friday afternoon anymore and expect it to blow over.
That doesn't work.
It absolutely doesn't work. Delayed or dismissive responses like the Royal Spanish Football Federation's handling of the Rubiales controversy, they just immediately damage your reputation and escalate the crisis.
And the audience demands authenticity. Bud Light's crisis is a perfect example of this. They initially defended a partnership, then they quickly distanced themselves from it.
And alienated everyone.
They alienated both supporters and critics. Their inconsistency caused sales to plummet because the public saw a total lack of genuine core values. It was the same with BrewDog, failing to consider their values when defending pay cuts. Integrity has to be consistent, or people will see right through it.
And this all brings us to the new reality, where PR professionals have to operate. The attention economy.
Where attention is currency.
Attention is now the most scarce and valuable resource, not just for marketers, but for every institution, from politicians to media outlets. And what determines what users see now isn't the organization's PR budget alone, it's social media algorithms.
Right.
These systems, powered by deep and reinforcement learning, they track everything: likes, comments, shares, how long you watch something, to prioritize content that maximizes engagement.
This is such a tectonic shift from the Ivy Lee era. We've moved from simple chronological feeds based on who you follow to these algorithmically curated feeds like TikTok's For You page.
And this determines not only what you do see, but far more profoundly, what information and what voices you never see.
That's a huge point.
It fundamentally reshapes influence because PR is now fighting for algorithmic prioritization, not just a spot in the newspaper.
And this leads to this concept of calcified attention.
Yes, because social media uses indicators like view counts and likes to document and exhibit success. Anything that attracts a large amount of attention automatically appears valuable, desirable, or relevant, even if the content is completely flawed or inflammatory or just manipulative.
Can you give us a concrete example of how that works?
Sure. Think about a piece of poorly researched medical advice. If it happens to be packaged in a very emotional way and it gets 10 million views in a huge comment section, the platform's algorithm just registers it as successful content.
Regardless of whether it's true.
Exactly. So PR professionals then learn to mimic that packaging. The sensationalism, the engagement triggers, not because it's true, but because the attention has calcified the content. It's given it this automatic manufactured credibility simply because of its reach.
That makes the ethical implications of AI governance, well, terrifying. Experts worry that advanced AI is just going to magnify all these existing dangers. It could erode critical thinking, damage our in-person connectedness, and lead to greater mental health problems because it's just so incredibly effective at keeping us engaged.
And that's why the key has to remain human accountability. As Gary Kasparov pointed out, there is no such thing as AI ethics. There is only human ethics using technology.
The technology is a tool.
The technology is a tool. We have to insist on human accountability because saying the algorithm did it is the ultimate cop-out. The ethical responsibility for how information is controlled and distributed always lies with the humans who deploy the tools, whether that tool is Bernays' psychological manipulation or a billion-parameter AI model.
So we've journeyed all the way from Edward Bernays' 1920s belief that democracy required the conscious manipulation of the masses, the highest form of asymmetrical communication, to a 2025 landscape where corporations are driven by ethical purpose or penalized for greenwashing, all while the main delivery mechanism for nearly all content is governed by these invisible, highly optimized algorithms.
And the core ethical challenge for modern PR really remains navigating that constant tension. You have the immense pressure to persuade and control the narrative, the two-way asymmetrical model, while still needing to maintain disclosure, integrity, and striving for that truly difficult ideal of mutual understanding, which is the symmetrical model.
So as you move through your day, think about this. The constant societal pressure to gain and expend attention often mirrors Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It feels like a fundamental requirement for social belonging, for professional success. But if attention is the ultimate symbolic currency, what are the true emotional costs of perpetually chasing it? And does that pursuit fundamentally diminish our ability to achieve authenticity and, ultimately, joy?
The pursuit of attention might be replacing the pursuit of self-actualization.
Something to chew on during your next scroll.